over the weekend, I experienced the scariest thing that I've ever had happen in my life. And it's a little bit on the serious side, but I'm doing this as kind of a public service to make people aware of what they should do should they find themselves in this particular situation.
Right.
So there was an incident that happened at my house over the weekend, and I'm going to keep the person that was directly involved with this incident anonymous. But a very close family friend was staying over at the house, teenager, and it was Sunday morning. And me and my son and this kid and my daughter were just sitting on the couch watching Adam Ruins Everything, which is a fun little show on True TV. And just going about our normal morning. And the friend that was staying over, I commented on something we were watching on TV. And he turns to me and looks at me and starts to make a strange-looking face. And a little noise coming out of his mouth as well, which is really weird. And just to jump right into it, and then I'll explain the series of events that happened. This perfectly healthy kid with absolutely no medical issue background at all had a full grand mal seizure in my living room. Wow. And it was horrible. It was so scary. I can't stop thinking about it.
He looks at you and
so he turns and looked at me. And for those of you who have experience with this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. His face twisted. It turned into like
a scowl.
Like in horror movies.
Yeah.
When someone is possessed or something like that, and all of a sudden they physically change.
Yeah.
It was like that. So, and I'll do it for you guys here in the studio. But he turned and looked, and his lower lip went off to the side, and he just goes, I, and started to point to himself.
Jesus.
And then, bang, and then it happened. So at first, we thought he was joking, like making fun of me or whatever I was saying. He's doing that, and he pointed to his neck, and for a second I'm thinking, well, maybe he's having like a cramp in his neck muscle or something like that, because his head kind of cocked off to the side. And then the eyes flip up, shut, mouth clench, back completely, bows out, spasms, arms come up contorted, clenched fist, and spasming, and just knocking stuff around. And I'm like, Jesus, he's having a seizure. So, I yell up to my wife. She comes downstairs, and it was just terrifying. She gets on 911. Starts to make the call. I see this as a seizure. So my cat had seizures.
Yeah.
And I would see that happen from time to time. So I recognize that this is what's going on. And I know that basically when that happens, there's not much you can do. You're not supposed to restrain them. You're not supposed to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The old theory of putting something in their mouth, they can swallow their tongue. That's not the case at all. But the scariest part was, as he's lying there, he starts foaming at the mouth, okay?
Holy crap.
Foaming at the mouth, and then he started to turn blue. He stopped breathing. And this is me, and I'm holding on to him. I'm not trying to restrain him. I'm just trying to keep him from hurting himself. And I'm saying his name, and I'm looking at him, and I'm saying, breathe, breathe, breathe. And I'm yelling at my wife. She's on 911. I'm like, he's turning blue.
Yeah.
He's foaming in the mouth. I'm trying to tell her all this stuff that's going on. And so when I see him turning blue and stop breathing, I'm thinking, okay, you only have so much time when somebody stops breathing.
Yes, right.
You're talking brain damage. You're talking potential death. I'm thinking this kid's going to die in my arms. I'm holding on to him, and I thought he was going to die.
Does that normally happen, that they stop breathing when they have a seizure like that?
What I found out, so the 911 operator, I'm relaying this information to my wife. She's relaying back to me what the 911 operator said. He said, turn him on his side. Because apparently, I guess it was the saliva and all that getting into his airway, and he couldn't breathe. And so you need to lay them on their side. So this is what you need to do. If you see somebody having what you recognize as a seizure, You need to, number one, get them. You need to get them out in the open if you can, like lie them on the floor. You need to turn them on the side. You need to support their head. You can't lay them on their face because they can smother.
Yeah.
If they have anything around their neck or clothing that's tight, you got to loosen that up. And you lay them on their side, and then you just got to wait for it to pass. So after I got him on his side, all this liquid's coming out of his mouth. I have slobber all over my arms and stuff. And then slowly the breathing just went to like, making these noises. And so when he was blue, I initially thought, okay, I've had CPR training. I'm going to have to, he's not breathing. I'm going to have to do mouth to mouth. So I reached to his mouth to try and open his mouth. I wasn't going to put anything in there. I was just going to try to give him mouth to mouth. But dude, his jaw was like a steel trap.
Oh my gosh!
And I couldn't move anything. I'm like pulling at his lips and teeth, and I'm trying to get his mouth open, and it's not happening. So we get him on his side, and then the breathing starts happening.
Do you have any concept of time between?
I don't know. It didn't feel like an eternity. By the time the police arrived first, and then the ambulance after, it only seemed like 5 minutes or so. But what I've been told, and what I almost did, is once we got him underway, and if my phone would have been in my pocket, I would have taken it out and started filming him so I could show it to the emergency responders.
Right.
This is what happened. But they say you should time the event. If you have
the presence of
mind to take a look at your watch or your clock or something like that, try and figure out how long it took. So anyhow. So he's laying on his side, and then
breathing is resumed.
Breathing is resumed very slowly, and I mean it's this blank stare. I mean, like looking right at you, but nobody's home. Nobody's home, and then boom, passed out cold. So they go into this series of stages of it's the spasms and the seizure itself. And then there's this catatonic type phase, and then they're just, boom, then they're just out cold. Unresponsive completely. And even as he slowly started to regain consciousness, I'm talking to him, I'm saying his name, do you know who I am? He's looking at me with some sort of awareness in his eyes, but just is not responding at all. Is still nobody home. Nobody knows he had no idea what was going on.
So you've come out of the fear that he's going to die in your arms, but now you don't know if there's been any brain damage, if this is a stroke or what.
And that's what I was worried about, like some sort, because of that loss of oxygen, because he wasn't breathing, that maybe there would be some brain damage or something like that. Which, by the way, he's okay.
Yeah,
I should have probably led with that. He's fine now.
So how long was it then?
I don't know. I'd say by the time it only felt like 7 or 8 minutes before the police arrived first. They got there pretty quick. Within like 5 minutes, it felt like they were there after my wife got on 911. And then 3 or 4 minutes past that, the ambulance, the EMT showed up.
Had he ever had seizures before?
No. Nothing. No medical history at all.
And any reason for it?
No. Like they were asking questions. Had he been hit in the head? As he plays sports, has he been hit in the head recently? No, that didn't happen. We're dehydrated, a low electrolyte balance or something along those lines. No. Any history of this, epilepsy or none of that. So, but they took him to the hospital and they scanned him and he was okay. And I found out basically what they're looking for is like, brain bleeds and things like that, strokes, and they didn't see anything.
It was clear.
From what I know. But so now he's going to have to go to a neurologist and get checked out a little bit further.
Oh, man, your poor children. I mean, obviously, this poor kid.
Yeah.
But, like, your daughter, how was she?
She was scared the rest of the day. The next day finally started to feel a little bit better. But through the day, we just... we couldn't get past it. And now I keep seeing flashes of his blue face.
Yeah.
With the foam and all that stuff looking up at me. And I'm like, you're
never going to lose that.
I'll never lose that. I will never, ever, ever lose that. And my son was he broke down after that, and it was horrible. It was terrible. But if you see this happening, that's what you need to do. So you need to get them on their side, and obviously, if they especially if they don't have a history of this, if you're used to it, then I think the protocol. If someone is prone to that, if they have epilepsy or something along the lines, it's a little bit different. But Dr. Mike is on the line.
Yes.
So let me go for Penn Medicine and Fox 29. Mike Sirigliano. I spoke to him yesterday. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm fine, and you know what? I want to commend you. You did such a great job, Preston. And you saved this kid's life. I mean, you you did the right thing. You didn't panic. You called 911, and the idea of putting him on his side was to protect his airway because they can aspirate and get into big trouble. So you did a really, really good.
I just did what they told me to do. So, I mean, it was just it was out of nowhere. It was just, it's not like, knowing that someone has a condition and this might happen just to let you know. It was like, wait, what's going on here? Oh my God. And then it just went from 0 to 60 in a heartbeat.
But to Mike's point, and I think it's, that runs contrary to every inclination you have to just go into a frenzy yourself. And I got to do this. Keep a cool head. You got the person on the phone. The person was able to instruct you how to do this. Your biggest service to someone who's experiencing something like this is to try to have to maintain a calm approach, even though it's contrary.
Yeah,
but that's what saved this kid's life.
It's crazy, man. I mean, it's go ahead, Mike.
So the question is, what in a young, healthy person could cause this? And a lot of people have genetic predispositions, and some people don't have their first seizure until they're adolescents. And so these are the kinds of things that neurologists will look at. There are many disorders we just don't know, and that's one of the major causes of this kind of scenario. You want to make sure that there's no drugs or alcohol. They'll do a tox screen in the ER. They'll do a scan to make sure there's no bleed or tumor, God forbid.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, was it a provoked seizure or non-provoked? And what do I mean by that? I mean, if there was a cause, if he was out running. I had a patient do a triathlon, and his sodium went so low that he ended up having a seizure. So that's one possibility. That's a provoked seizure. In many cases, they're unprovoked, and we don't know what caused it, despite really significant testing. So he'll do an electroencephalogram, EEG, and be put on medication, and will look further into any kind of genetic causes.
So is there a possibility that this is a one-off, an anomaly that just occurred, and that he may never experience something like this again in his life?
I would hope that he never goes through that again, but I'm not optimistic. I think he's going to need to be treated. I mean, you certainly don't want to make this kid live in a bubble, but he certainly will not be able to drive if he's near 16, and we have strict laws about people with seizures not being able to drive unless they've been seizure-free and medicated for a period of time.
Right.
So it will affect his life, but luckily he survived.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully there's nothing untoward there. There's nothing horrendous. And if it is a genetic disorder or one of these we don't know yet what causes it, then he'll be medicated and go on with his life.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Thanks, Dr. Mike. Appreciate it, man. We love you.
Love you guys. And Preston, proud of you, man.
Oh, thanks, buddy. All right. Thanks. All right. We'll talk soon. It was, I was, what I took from it and told the kids, I was just like Dr. Mike said, somebody driving and that happens, that's, it can be real, real bad.
Yeah.
But I was just like, look, it happened. We were all together when it happened. That's a good thing. We were there to help him out. It didn't happen in the middle of the night when maybe nobody would have even realized what was happening. Something horrible could have taken place.
Absolutely. He could have died in his sleep.
To help him. And so we tried to take that from it,
There's another element to it. Perhaps this was the alert to, this is an alert that can get them aware of something where he's not driving along and has an experience like that.
Yeah. In fact, let me go to, I'm going to go to Nick, who is on the line. Hi, Nick. Good morning.
Hey, Gadzooks.
Yeah, Gadzooks, Nick. What's up, bud?
Hey, so I am 20. I'm in college, and I have epilepsy. And basically the long and short of that is that it's mainly when you have like one or more seizures, over the course of your life.
Yeah.
And first things first is, Preston, you did everything absolutely perfect. And Dr. Mike is, spot on with everything he said. A big thing that I've kind of learned over the years is that that once you have your first one, and if you have more than that afterwards, your window of like being able to like not have any more and like not having to take medication starts shrinking as you get older. So I had my first one when I was probably like 6 or 7. And after that, they were kind of like, oh, you know, we'll put you on some meds for now. And if you can go 2 years, we'll take you off to see how you do. And so that happened. And I was off my meds for like about probably another year and a half. And I had another one. And then they're like, all right, you're, you know, you should be good for now. I mean, we're going to put you back on meds and you'll be fine. But it might come back again during puberty. And that's exactly what happened. I had a couple more. And so from then on, they were like, yeah, you're probably just going to have to, you know, be on meds the rest of your life. And that is kind of scary when you first hear it. But how it was explained to me and from my experience is that if you take your meds like on a daily basis, follow what your doctor prescribes, you should be fine. They might have to tweak it a little bit here and there. Like I had one probably like a year after they put me back on the meds during, you know, my puberty. And they're like, all right, well, you know, you just had another one after we put your meds on. Put you back on meds. And so we'll have to up the dosage a little bit. And that was just like another 100 milligrams.
Right.
Can you, Nick, can you drive? Are you allowed to drive?
Yeah. So like Dr. Mike was saying with the laws are really strict. So I'm in Jersey, and, you know, for that is you have to go 6 months without having a seizure. So like when I turned 16 and I went to go get my license, I had one, I think, a month before I turned 16. So I had to wait 6 months after that just to go and get my permit. And once you get that, that's, you know, you have your license and all that. But if you have another seizure anytime after that, that's another 6 months you can't drive.
Right.
So like after I graduate and if I get a job or whatever, I have to make sure I'm kind of near some sort of like public transport, or I can take an Uber or something like that, just in case I do have one.
Yeah.
That way I still have a way to get to work.
Nick, a couple of things. Number one, do you wear like an ID bracelet or anything along those lines?
I do actually. I have just like a dog tag on a chain.
Okay.
And it has like that EMS logo on it, and it has like my name, epilepsy, and then my mom's phone number.
Okay. And then the other question: do you feel it coming on? Do you have an idea a few seconds beforehand something's about to happen?
It depends from person to person. Some people will say that, oh, you know, like I start feeling like lightheaded and then they'll like pass out. For me, I don't feel anything. Like I just like drop out. And from hearing what my, you know, parents and people I've had them around, they said that like I'll have like what's called a staring spell, when you just kind of like zone out and just start staring at like something, and you become unresponsive. Like you don't, like somebody will try calling your name, you don't react, you don't say anything, and then eventually you'll just drop and have the whole, you know, seizure and compulsions and all that.
And then Nick, do you lose time?
I do, I guess. Like it's kind of like it didn't even happen. It's like 1 minute I'm like, oh, you know, doing your thing, and then next minute you're either like on the stretcher because it happened in public, or like you're on the couch because at home.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, wow. And the other thing with that too is when you wake up, it's like having the worst
hangover
sickness ever. The worst hangover you could ever imagine.
Yeah, because what I was told is and thanks for your call, by the way, Nick. I'm going to go some other ones. I appreciate it, but he remembers trying to talk. To me,
but could not
and couldn't. And then the next thing he remembers is me standing over him, or you know, I was kneeling actually, but I was right over him. But he remembers looking up and seeing him. But the rest of it, he doesn't remember any of it.
When did you get the diagnosis? Is that actually what had happened? Was it after he was in the ER, or did you know that it was a grand mal seizure?
No, I knew that was it. I mean, I have watched videos on YouTube before. Because so there are medical anomalies and things like that I find fascinating. And I've researched it before and seen the different types of, there's like 5 or 6 different types of seizures that you can have. Yeah. And one of the last caller was saying one of them just includes somebody just blanking out. And then that's as far as it goes. They kind of zone out for, like 30 seconds and then bang, they're right back. And then other ones, like the one that I experienced, are the full entire body is involved, and there's convulsions and kicking and foaming in the mouth.
That's
and
crazy.
Like that.
Yeah.
And what about his parents? Were they around when all of this happened?
No. I mean, so Rochelle got on the phone with him, but before he left in the ambulance, his dad had gotten to the house.
Okay.
So he was able to go with him.
How did they react?
They were scared to death.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing like this has ever happened before, so it was just absolutely out of nowhere. A lot of calls on the phone lines here. I'm going to go to Samantha. Hi, Samantha. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. What's up, Samantha?
December 12th, 2012.
Yep.
That was my daughter's first. It was a Friday. We were laying on the couch watching Good Morning America. She made that noise that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I looked over, I went, "What was that, baby?" And I look, and she's just fully convulsing, ready to come off the couch.
How old was she, Samantha?
She had just turned 14.
Okay, yeah.
And
Puberty. Yeah.
And it's funny because CHOP, who has been treating her, and they have been a godsend for the last 4 years, even will tell you puberty will bring it on in so many kids.
Yeah.
So that day, I run over, I kind of jam her onto the couch with my legs. I'm screaming for my husband who's in the shower, and he doesn't hear me. And thankfully, she was already on her side. But, the gargling noises that you hear when they're trying to catch their breath is just the most terrifying noise.
It is. It is. It's hard to describe. It's
and they can't breathe, and thank God she didn't turn blue. She kind of coughed through it.
Yep.
Her worst seizure ever, thankfully, was down at CHOP. They took her off her medication to see if she was a surgical candidate, and she was down there for 2 weeks, hooked up to all the equipment, and unfortunately, she's not a surgical candidate. She is one of those kids that they have no idea what brought it on. Her longest ever seizure-free period was 5 months, which was right around the time she should have gotten her license. She's 18 now, hasn't been able to drive, get her permit, nothing. She did graduate high school even after that was fun.
Yeah.
She does work, a pretty decent hour job. I mean, I have to drive her everywhere, and that's cool. I have no problem with it.
But as of now, Samantha, they still don't know the cause, right?
No. In fact, on the 14th, CHOP is actually like, okay, she's 18 now. Let's get her over to HUP and see what they have to say.
Right.
Okay. Well, we only hope the best for you. But outside of that, she's doing okay.
Yeah. I mean, she is an absolutely great kid. Dating has been a little interesting for her because, sometimes it has to be a first date conversation of, hey, by the way, because like the last caller, Nick, was saying, sometimes you just sit there, the lights are on, but nobody's home. And then 30 seconds later, you're back.
Yeah.
And I tell her it's like somebody pressed pause. She can literally be in the middle of a sentence, stop for like 15 seconds, and then carry on like nothing happened.
Wow. All right.
Or so this new guy that she's dating, he's kind of great because the first thing he did was, okay, tell me how I take care of you if you need me to.
Good. Absolutely. All right.
And
well, I'm sorry, Samantha. We got so many calls and so forth up here, but
yes,
hang in there, and hopefully everything's going to be cool with her. But we appreciate you hearing.
Thank you, and best wishes to the kid, and thank you for bringing light to this. This
Absolutely,
is a lot of our lives every day, and people listen to you.
Thank you. But listen, should you see somebody? I mean, that's the main reason I wanted to bring it up. If you see this happening.
Get them on their side.
Get them on their side and
support
call
the head.
911, obviously, and make sure that everything's all right. Yeah, and support the head. So it was.
Wow.
I'm sorry to be heavy, but it was. I've never been scared like that before.
I think someone is going to die in your arms.
Yeah.
And that'll wake you up. Mm-hmm. So thank God it worked out well. Obviously there are issues that are still to be explored here, but the young man's alive and has a better shot at a better life. At least being aware of this now.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was wild. Thank you. I see all the calls up, but we probably should break here, right, Case?
Yeah.
But anyhow, I appreciate it, and I wanted to share that and let you know if you do see something like that. Those are the steps that you take, and that's it.
All right. What's the number you called before you dig, Preston?
That's 811.
811.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with this.
Okay.
But still.
The Preston and Steve Show on 93.3 WMMR. Like the podcast, you'll also love it live when you can call in. Weekdays from 6 a.m. to about 10:30 a.m. on the radio at 93.3 WMMR. Or stream the show live via MMR's mobile app.